Well, Joe, it finally happened. The Pohlads did the thing that I guess we all expected at some point, considering how long this process has taken. At this point, they announced today, the Pohlad family did, that the Twins are no longer for sale. We'll get into the statement that they released in a little bit. We'll get into the fan reaction and what this means. But I just want your reaction right off the bat here. How you're feeling and how you're processing this. The fact that after months and months of delays of finding a new ownership, the Pohlads are going to keep the Twins, unfortunately, it feels like.
Well, I mean, I guess the glass half full approach would be that, hey, look, now you don't have to get to know an entirely new owner or ownership group who eventually breaks your heart because they won't spend money on the roster. And that's a good thing, right? You already know what you're dealing with. So, hey, just buckle down and prepare for more of the same, because now we know that the Pohlads are still operating this thing. And we don't know for sure if they'll be the primary decision makers on roster stuff and team spending. Maybe the two significant investors, the incoming parties that Joe Pohlad has mentioned in the interview with the Minnesota Star Tribune, and that the team suggested was going to happen in their official release, maybe those parties will have a little bit more say in what happens with the roster and financial flexibility. But of course, it would have to come with some sort of blessing from the top, and that is the majority owners that will remain the Pohlad family. So I don't know how it's going to go. All I know is that the indications after you blow up the entire team at the trade deadline, you salary dump $75 million by getting rid of Carlos Correa, it's probably not a good indication that spending is going to be on the Pohlads' mind for the 2026 season and beyond. And you know what? These things don't just happen overnight. So when you go out and you trade a bunch of your key players who are core to a roster that many people thought could compete this year for a bunch of prospects, and as good as it looks like, hey, MLB Pipeline, the Twins have the number 2 farm system in baseball right now based on the prospect rankings. That's good, but that's a very heavy indicator that they're not going to be doing a lot of spending and that they will be building from within and developing talent, which is what they've done for the past 40 years. And it hasn't gotten them over the hump in 35 plus years, since 1991, 35 years and going on 36 now. So that's what everybody should expect. I understand that fans are pissed off. Fans are angry. The Twins sent out that tweet this morning, and that bad boy got ratioed in real time. You could see that number of comments versus the number of likes going like this. On this hand, I'm mirrored here. Dang it. This hand, you have the likes. This one, you have the comments, and the comments were going like this, and the likes were not keeping pace. So fans are pissed off, and rightfully so. They've been sold a bill of goods for a long time by the Pohlad family, and now they just tempted a big tease. They tempted fate and gave Twins fans hope for change, and then they pulled the rug. So it is what it is. And like you said, maybe we should have all seen it coming. You know, when you get the reports of the team allegedly having $425 million in debt that they supposedly wanted interested buyers to pay rather than subtract from the actual price, hey, that's a significant chunk of change. That's like 25 to 30% of the actual $1.7 billion asking price. So when you're dealing with those kind of numbers, and if you're not going to budge on them and you're not going to bring down your price at all, then you're not going to find a lot of people who are interested. And as soon as Justin Ishbia switched gears and said, I'm buying more stake in the White Sox and I'm not interested in the Twins, I mean, I guess that was kind of the death knell, because they reportedly expanded the window to accept offers to early in April. We never heard an update on that, and everything has just been quiet, too quiet. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised by this, but without doubt, fans are pissed off, and they have every right to be angry right now.
Yeah, to sort of reset this whole timeline, the family announced that they're going to sell the team that they've owned for the past 40 years last October. It all went quiet. We expected something to happen. Excuse my kid in the background. We all expected something to happen throughout the offseason. It never did. The Twins decided, because of the sales process, the ownership sales process that was going on, there was no offseason acquisition. So a team that collapsed down the stretch, didn't add any pieces to help them out, and it left Twins fans coming into this season with not a lot of hope. I remember our conversations on this channel, and you were quite a big detractor of what this team could do this season. Not very happy with the lack of movement in the offseason. And we go throughout the beginning of the season, nothing's happening. We get the statements at the All-Star game, All-Star weekend, that from Commissioner Rob Manfred that a sale might happen soon, or he feels like a sale might happen soon. Well, couple weeks later, here we are with the Pohlads announcing in a statement, over the past several months, we explored a wide range of potential investment and ownership opportunities. Our focus throughout has been on what's best for the long-term future of the Twins, yada, yada, yada. I don't think we could have imagined a better outcome than where we landed, they said in a statement. As you said to the Minnesota Star Tribune, we found two great partners, and I've already developed some pretty solid relationships with them. I don't know. This clearly, as you said, has not gone down well with the fans. It just leaves a lot of questions of what the heck has been going on with this organization over the past couple months, over almost the past year. And the biggest question for me, Joe, coming out of this, and we'll get to the fan reaction, as you said, in a little bit, why the fire sale? If you're leaning towards not selling the team, if you're leaning to retaining the team, why the fire sale when you dump as many players as you did 3 weeks ago? Because you're anticipating a big sale, you're trying to offload some of the current expenses for the new ownership to come in and make their mark on the franchise. And then 3 weeks later, you do a turnaround and decide, no, we're going to keep the team instead. And now it's an even longer road to invest or to seeing some success for these prospects. The fire sale doesn't make sense with how this has played out today.
Well, I think, like I said, it's a long-term play because they're not going to spend money, most likely. I mean, they don't have a TV deal bringing in revenue for 2 consecutive seasons. That's a big chunk of revenue that they would spend on the roster normally. So if you're a business and you're going by the bottom line, yeah, they're going to cut payroll like they have done the last 2 seasons. And then if you don't have that revenue coming in and you're looking at all-time low attendance numbers for this season, and the outlook is grim, and fan morale is...
This news isn't going to help attendance numbers.
Fan morale is terrible. I mean, yeah, you should. Nobody in their right mind should expect the Pohlads to come out and say, "Yeah, okay, we hear you, we understand your frustration, and we'll spend more money." No, they're going to say what Joe Pohlad told the Minnesota Star Tribune is that, "Hey, look, we understand your frustration, and we really do believe that it's better to have a fan base that cares and will express that anger than one that's apathetic." And he's right about that. But that's just a soft way of saying, "Yeah, we get it, but we're not going to change," because the business is based on revenues that come in. This is a business. It's not fantasy baseball, right? So anybody who thinks they're going to just start forking over more money after seeing them salary dump $75 million to get rid of one of the best defensive shortstops in the game, who, granted, isn't having a great offensive season, but was a team leader and a voice in that clubhouse, you're bat bleep crazy, and it ain't going to happen. So when you start trading guys who are under contract like Joan Duran and Griffin Jacks and Louis Varland, and basically 8 other guys, you're looking at a situation where you're building depth in the minors now and trying to get them ready to go for 2026, 2027. And yes, the Twins do have a lot of intriguing pieces that are on the cusp of breaking through to the big leagues. I don't understand why so many fans are pissed off about it, though, because what has the current roster actually accomplished? Were they held back because the Pohlads cut payroll, or were they held back because they just weren't good enough? I mean, you can make the argument both ways, I think, and nobody's going to sit here and look at Griffin Jacks or Joan Duran and think, yeah, that was good that you lost 2 elite late inning right-handed arms in the bullpen, but Griffin Jacks hasn't exactly been amazing. And if push comes to shove and you put him in a big spot against the Yankees or the Dodgers and, God forbid, the World Series, how's that going to pan out?
Well, yeah, I remember.
It's not going to go well.
I remember there was a national commentator who said after the trade deadline fire sale happened, wait, if all these contending teams came in for all these Twins players, then why weren't the Twins good?
Yeah, that's a great point. It is a great point. And there's a myriad of reasons why the Twins aren't good. injuries. You can question the manager. You can question the style of play. You can question the arms they're choosing to throw out there on any given day. You can question the financial part of it, where you're not spending on proven veteran players. It's like last night the Twins are playing the Yankees, and I see Paul Goldschmidt and Giancarlo Stanton come up in big spots, and they might go down 0-2 in a count, but they're professional hitters, and they get something done. And if it's not a base hit or a bases clearing double or a rip into the stands, they're definitely going to move the runner where they need to move them. And the Twins they just don't do that. And right now is a bad time to really analyze anything, because half the roster is guys who are probably supposed to be in AAA. But the Twins loaded the bases, excuse me, with nobody out in the first inning, and they scored 1 run because they lack the professionalism and the skill at the plate to actually do damage when the opportunity presents itself. And that's just the reality of it. So if you have to hit the reset button, whether it's the Pohlads or somebody else owning the team, and you're getting a bunch of prospects that other teams viewed as future pieces of their franchise, like Mick Abel and Kendry Rojas from the Blue Jays in the Lewis Varland trade, or the catcher from the Phillies, I forget his name, but he's a freak, and he's like a top 50 prospect with the
Eduardo Tate.
Yeah, Eduardo Tate. These guys are going to come in and help eventually. And yes, it is crap in one hand and witch in the other, and see which one comes up with something there. Yeah. Well, let's hope that wish comes in one of the hands, because that's all the Twins have right now, is a little bit of hope. And this is the process that the Pohlads have built their reputation on, and there's no signs it's going to change. We're going to sell hope and repeat, no matter if they fail or not. So get used to it. It's not changing.
Should we expect more trades from them this offseason? I know Will in our Slack chat, he's off at TCO Performance Center for Vikings joint practice, so he couldn't join us today, but I know he kind of pointed out, well, this probably signals that Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan might be traded this offseason. Should we expect that, considering the fire sale they just went through, considering you're not changing ownership? This ownership clearly says they're betting on the future. I'm sure Pirates fans are sick of hearing that for their team, betting on the future and trading off all their stars once they become good enough and you have to start paying for them. Should we expect more trades for the Twins this offseason?
Yeah, I'd imagine Joe Ryan's at the top of that list, and Will Reget's pointed that out in our Slack chat, just conversation, as we react to this breaking news today. But Joe Ryan's making $3 million this season. He's up for arbitration in 2026 and 2027. And after an all-star selection this year and putting up some incredible numbers, he's going to pitch later today against the Yankees, I believe. If this guy finishes with a 2.75 ERA and he's striking out 10 batters per 9 innings and he's arbitration eligible, he's certainly going to get a raise, but he's on the verge of demanding a monster contract that pays him $20 million a year or more, right? And if that's the case, and the Pohlads aren't seeing the television revenue, they might look at this and say, we have to trade him at his peak, which is right now. And if not this offseason, before next year's trade deadline, or the following offseason. And I would assume the sooner the better, because that's when his peak price tag will be. So if you're not going to make any money, and you know you're in a business that's not going to pay this guy maximum money like he's going to demand, you trade him for what you can get. And that's the sad reality, because Joe Ryan's a great pitcher and Pablo Lopez is under contract, and you have guys who can be front end of rotation starters. But if you're not going to pay him, you're going to punt on him, and then hopefully a guy who's on a rookie deal and under team control for $3 million, like Joe Ryan right now is going to be the way forward for the Twins. And you're going to have to rely on those guys to win. Good luck. It's usually not the way or the recipe to win a World Series in the modern day, much less compete for a playoff spot or even a series victory in the postseason.
Yeah, it's a difficult day, obviously, for Twins fans, realizing or feeling like there was hope that there could have been some promise in the future for this organization. But Pohlads announcing today that they are not selling the Twins. Obviously, fan reaction has been quite negative, Joe, over on Twins social media. Overall, what's been the reaction that you've seen from Twins fans today?
Well, I texted my old boss, Joe Pohlad, the popcorn gif, and I said, "This you right now?" No response. But he's seeing this stuff, and he's got to be feeling the pressure right now. I don't know. I don't know. There's just not a lot of optimism right now in Twins land. There wasn't a lot in my mind coming into the season, and the optimism that did exist was the fact that there might be new ownership that could spend some money. Honestly, I didn't even hear the question you asked me because I was looking at my phone. But
It was about the fans' reaction. What's it been? What have you noticed so far?
oh, people are pissed, man. They're pissed. Nobody's happy about this. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but Thursday night, the Twins return to Target Field to host a 4-game series against the Detroit Tigers. And I've heard rumors that people who have brought in signs ripping the Pohlads have been kicked out of Target Field this season. I don't know. I can't confirm that that's true. I don't know for sure. But I'll be at the game on Friday night, and I'll be monitoring the situation and looking for signs and whatnot. But there is going to be some negative outcry, and I would suspect fans will actually show up to a couple of games here in the very near future, not boycott, but to go out there and voice some frustrations and chant some nasty chants towards the Pohlads because they're pissed. Fans are really angry. And again, the Pohlads have the right to operate as a business, not as a fantasy baseball team. But the fans also have the right to be pissed off that the Twins, who are billionaire owners, aren't spending the way other billionaire owners are. You know, it's not like they don't have the money to go out there and spend 200 million or whatever, like some of these other high-end teams do on a yearly
Right.
basis. But their business model is very clear. And we don't have to see the internal paperwork to realize this. It's that if the business is not making money, we're not going to allocate any outside money to the roster. They have every right to do that as private business owners. But fans should be pissed off about that because this is a game of entertainment and people want to win. And if you're going to win, you got to spend. If you want to make money, you got to spend money. Everybody knows that. You can't just pussyfoot around for the rest of your life and rely on the Mick Abels and Jose Barrioses of the world to come up and be superstars. Prospects are a dime a dozen, and how many actually end up being the kind of players who lead you to the promised land? There aren't many. Most of them you got to buy. So you can be the Tampa Rays or you can be the New York Yankees and LA Dodgers. Who do you want to be? And it's pretty clear that the Twins would rather be more like the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, for sure. One last question here, and this is a thought that kept popping up through my mind since this news broke. How much of this, and we've talked about the timeline and how they've struggled to find buyers and come to an agreement with ownership. Hold on, bud. How much of this is just them trying to play the market and kind of force a buyer to come out and force their hand? I mean, saying,
I
"Hey,
think
the
you're I
team's no
think you're
longer on
hoping
sale."
for a best case scenario there
Yeah,
as a fan who wants to see change. I
yeah.
don't think they come out and put this statement out saying,
It
"Hey,
certainly feels like a stretch when I try and put it together.
yeah." I mean, I think a lot of people are thinking exactly what you're saying, though. They're like, "Hey, is this them trying to play the market? Like, hey,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess this isn't for sale. We're gonna take our foot off the gas here." And
try and get the price
no,
that they want.
because it sounds like in Joe Polad's interview with the Minnesota Star Tribune that they have two potentially significant minority partners, investors lined up. And if that's the case, then yeah, they're probably looking at the writing on the wall and saying, hey, we have too much debt. We're not going to be able to have some buyer come in and eat all that debt and pay us what we want. They're going to want to subtract that debt and give us $1.2 billion or something like that. And they don't want to do that. So until they can erase that debt, maybe this is something they're saying, we're going to hold on to this franchise. We'll get some investors to come in and take the burden off of us. And we're still going to have control over the final decisions of everything that this franchise has to do going forward. But I think you're just anybody who thinks that this is some sort of game or some sort of rope a dope to potential buyers out there, a signal to say, hey, if you don't make the offer we want right now, we're taking them off the market. Nah, I don't think they need to do that publicly. They could have easily done that privately. And the message is very clear. They just did not get what they wanted to get under the timeline that they were looking to do it. which about a full year process here, 10 months now since they announced the team would go up for sale, and they took them off the market because that's the best business decision for them at the very moment.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just obviously it's a difficult day. It's a hard day. Irritating day for a lot of fans. A lot of fans expressing their anger over on social media, and I'm sure, as you said, we'll see it this weekend when the Twins return home for a home series against the Tigers, and it should be very interesting.
Well, what's going to be really interesting is what happens now with Rocco Baldelli, what happens with Derek Falvey, Jeremy Zoll, the general manager. These are guys whose jobs were likely for sure dead if there was an ownership change. And what we know about the Twins is that they're very loyal to people who work for them. Does that mean Derek Falvey's safe? Does that mean Rocco Baldelli gets a free pass and comes back as the manager? It seems like the president of baseball operations and the general managers in this regime, or under the ownership that's been in place for 40 years, have had a longer leash than managers have in recent seasons. Paul Molitor got his crack at it, and now we get Rocco Baldelli getting the crack at it. Is it just a matter of time before Rocco Baldelli is doing radio broadcasts and he's still part of the club? Or is he out, or is he still back on the bench managing things? Because, this is a guy who won the AL Manager of the Year when the baseballs were juiced in 2019. And since then, he did lead the Twins to a postseason series victory and snapped the 18-game playoff drought losing streak. But they have not looked like a team that really knows what they're doing on all levels of the game in terms of strategy and everything under him in recent seasons. So it'll be really interesting to see what kind of decisions come from the top when we're talking about guys in the front office and on that bench, because they've tried everything. They've fired trainers, they've fired hitting coaches, they've fired pitching coaches. They had a pitching coach leave for college team because they made more money in college. Hey, Wes Johnson, what's up, buddy? And I don't know. There's only so many times you can hit the reset, repeat, sell hope button, but the Pohlads clearly are going to try to do it again and again and again until they put the team back on the market. Maybe in a few years. Who knows?
Just don't understand. For me, I guess I just don't understand, and maybe this is why I'm not a billionaire. I don't understand how you're going to lower your debt, clear that debt, and while not providing a team that fans want to come out and see. You're going to have an empty target field.
Yeah.
Week in and day out, week in and week out throughout the year. And I don't understand how that's going to help them clear debt when they don't have a TV deal. So
how do you win back fan support? How do you actually do that at this
I don't think they can. And so I don't know how this situation gets any better.
They're going to need a better promo than "This is how we baseball" next spring.
Yes. You're going to have to find something. They're going to have to find something for sure. They're going to need the best PR agency in the world to try and figure this out. But we'll be sure to cover it all for you over on Twins on SI. Go read the rest of our work. Also on Vikings, Timberwolves, and Gophers on SI as well, covering it all. Breaking news today, Twins owners, Pohlad family deciding not to sell the Twins after putting the team on the market for the last 10 months. So we'll cover it all for you over there. Hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does help us get found. Also notifies you every time we post a new video over on the channel. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another topic across Minnesota sports.